Hi, Misha here, and I'm going to do another Blackbox, a topical one. Last time did a Blackbox, talked about Gary Newman, music one. That was a bit of a trial run, but I had a lot of fun making it. I hope people enjoyed listening to it. And so I'll probably tackle a more popular, more well-known band next time. However, don't be surprised if a lot of the musical ones are maybe lesser known, or I think a lot of my posts will end up being like, hey, I remember them. Did they make one song? And I'm like, no, they made a dozen albums. So, some bands, they had that one or maybe two songs that hit the radio, and then boom, that's it. Time was done with them. And it's a shame because a lot of the times those radio songs were not their best, sometimes close to their worst, but most commercially viable. So we'll see how it goes. This time, I wanted to talk about something that I actually made a video of, but never published it because I didn't like how it turned out. But it's one of the most laughable groups on the internet, so much so that I don't think J-Ro took me for real when I mentioned them to him a couple of years ago, that these guys existed. We're talking about the Red Pill, the Manosphere crowd. And, they're just... I don't know, projection and blaming other people for your own failings and just whinging on. I don't really think anyone here buys into it. Not the hardcore stuff at any rate. They, of course, like anything, there's always little granules of truth, and obviously there are things that are unfair in life, but my lordy, do they really have an interesting take on things. And it goes to show you how the internet has taken disparate groups and brought them together, and they really reinforce and eventually echo chamber each other. And, well, it's a thing, I suppose. But kind of felt like talking about them. It's very hot tonight. I think it's still in the 80s, and it's going to be 100 degrees tomorrow. So we immediately just crossed into hardcore summer, which, we were having a really, really pleasant May and June right up into this last week. And then I guess it remembered, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be warm. So that's what the weather's doing. Anywho, let's dive in. And let's kind of talk about me. Honestly, I probably have more reasons to bitch and moan and complain and blame women or whatever than most of the guys in the Manosphere. On the dating chart, I wasn't handed the best hand of cards when I was born. Obviously I'm blind, and you might think that doesn't matter. Trust me, it does. Any disability matters when it comes to the dating market. It matters when it comes to the employment market, which tangentially relates to the dating market. If you don't have a good job, that obviously lowers your prospects. And it's hard to get a really good job, or even a decent job, when you're disabled. You don't have to necessarily be blind, but being deaf, being in a wheelchair, having autism, whatever. It makes it harder all around. So that's one. Number two, I'm short. Apparently that's a thing. Yeah. So not much you can really do about that. So, such is life. I'm not especially good looking. I'm not especially anything like that. I'm just there. So, short, disabled guy. Grew up in a small area where if you didn't drive a vehicle, you were kind of nothing. Even most women drive. Men all had to. Most men I grew up with ended up getting their quote-unquote hardship permit when they were 15 to drive. It's that important. So not being able to drive myself around, much less pick up dates, that is honestly emasculating in a lot of ways. And on top of that, mostly based on just, my life and opportunities, I was into computers and typical nerd stuff. And in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't pop culture like it is today. So that didn't help much either. But you know what? You know how I sincerely, truly feel about it? Am I bitter? Am I upset? Do I have some deep-seated, deep-down resentment? Nope. I just feel like whenever I jacked into the Matrix and started up this game we call life, I decided to play on ultra-violence mode, on hard mode. And, yeah, I've, I've made it, but I've managed. I've never had trouble getting dates. We all go through dry patches. I would say, if anything, mid-20s was kind of the roughest for me. But starting at 15, 16 in high school and running through university, and I've been in a 15-year relationship with pretty much no major difficulties. Everyone has difficulties, but it's been a stable relationship. And so what if I'm short? I never really cared. I never really knew it was a thing. And if it ever came up, I would just make a joke that honestly, it's better to be short and blind than tall and blind, because he had on things. My dad, who was 6'4", lived in the same house since 1978. Even at the end, he would still bonk his head on top of or at the bottom of the ceiling fan in the living room once in a while, because that's just kind of what it is. So, frankly, given the other situation, I'm kind of cool being short, because that probably saved me a lot of pain. Not that I don't have a few head scars, because that's what you do. But it never really bugged me, because it's just how we're born. And made the best of it. Tried to be educated, which does help, and persevering, not giving up, and trying to develop some wit and personality, and just be someone worth talking to, not just a boring lump. And that seems to work out fine. Don't know. I will say, growing up, I tended to be a little better off with women that were slightly older than me. We're not talking crazy older, but a couple of years, then slightly younger. I don't know why, but I kind of found that in life in general, especially when I was real young. But my whole point was, if anyone could or should be resentful of situation and dating culture and all that, you would think it'd be someone like me, but I'm not. And I don't really think a lot of people with major disabilities feel that way. You certainly don't see a lot of them all that active in the Manosphere. You see a bunch of just normal, fully capable, usually middle-aged, often pretty well-off dudes who, frankly, from perspective looking in, what are you crying about? So a girl broke your heart? Join the club. Lots of men and women alike have had a girl break their heart. But guess what? Lots of men and women alike have had a boy break their heart. 'Cause, sometimes people are dicks. It's not because of their chromosomes or their genitalia. It's just because some people are dicks. So that's something I kind of realized early on. Another thing, and this is harder to realize, sometimes the breaking up actually hurts the breaker-upper more than the person being broken up with. I know that to someone who's only been broken up with or never really been through it, it seems counterintuitive, but it's true. Because sometimes you really, really like someone, but it just won't work out in the long term, and so you let them go. and it sucks. It hurts, and you want, what if could have been, in a different life, and making that call, being the one to step up and make that call is horrendous. I went through something like that with not my first serious girlfriend, but I'd say my second, maybe third serious, however you want to classify serious. We lived together, and there were problems from the beginning, and after a couple of years, it was just clear that there wasn't a future between us. And not that one of us was bad, one of us was good. We just weren't good together. We had different approaches to life, and eventually, since I didn't have the balls to break it off, she did. But it wasn't in a cruel or malicious way. In fact, she told me, and she was there, and basically apologized for it. And years later, I apologized to her for my part in it. Because again, when you're 20, trust me, neither party's innocent. And when I got married years later, she actually reached out, said that her mother had seen it in the newspaper, congratulated us, and yeah, that was that. Closure is a good thing. Again, we didn't end because we hated each other. It just, that's how life is. And sometimes there are no victims or villains, and sometimes there are no heroes either. Either no one's to blame or both parties are. Or in some relationships, 3 or 4 parties. That's a story for another day, though. But no, you have to be mature enough to just realize that. And there are just misunderstandings and things that we do that seem like no big deal to us that really hurt or offend or otherwise really get under the skin of your partner. And there we go. And then you listen to these Manosphere guys and you wonder, would you want to date them? They seem like they just treat women like objects, or like the woman is an automaton with rules and regulations, and if they unlock it, they can just do it. And that kind of gets into the quote-unquote player culture. Like, there's just a cheat card. Kind of makes me wonder, how shallow are you that you think other people are that shallow? No, don't get me wrong. I've met women and men, both, who are pretty equally that shallow. The NPC effect. I really do sometimes wonder about certain people if there's just not much going on. I don't know, but I'm not in their head, so c'est la vie. But you think about it. Maybe it's because of the kind of women that they go for, too. I mean, they're always constantly ranking women, and it's kind of funny. Men that are perfectly decent but average, they want a physically perfect specimen of their preferred sexuality, gender, whatever. You gotta be fair about that shit. And there's no shame in it. And sometimes the best partners are the ones that aren't the best looking. I mean, are you going for a quick fuck? Are you wanting a summer romance? I've had those, and they can be a lot of fun, but they're going to end. Not to go into details because it's private and all that, but the woman I saw before I met my wife, who will become my wife, she was that. It was summer romance, and I think we both knew it couldn't go somewhere, but it was really passionate while it lasted. So that's okay. But if you're looking for a life partner to have children with, or at least be married with, that's different. It's not settling. It's just different roles, different needs, and you learn different things about yourself. I don't know. But yeah, you think about that and what they want, and then of course their obsession about their partner's past is, and this is a term I'd never really heard, but apparently it's what the kids use now, and by kids I mean like these 40 and 50 something middle-aged men or even boomers, but body count. Really? I don't know, kind of seems superfluous to me. I don't know. I mean, does it matter if someone had sex one time with 10 people or sex 10 times with one person. And that does kind of get into the none your business situation. We are who we are today, and what lessons we learned getting to that point. Yeah. The one thing I did have to learn when I got serious was just don't talk about your past partners. Don't compare, of course, but even just don't talk about it, because even if they were a significant part of your life, even if it is in the past, your current partner doesn't want to hear about that. So if you're ever with someone that's constantly comparing you to their ex, I'm not saying run away, but I'm saying notice that shit. Yeah. One way or the other, for more than one reason. It's just not cool. At the same time, the whole idea that you can be friends with an ex when you get into a serious relationship, that's difficult. That really is. I'm not going to say it can't be done, but having someone you used to sleep with hanging around a current marriage is, man, that just seems like inviting drama that no one needs. Because, yeah, you might consider yourself friends today, but you're hanging around together is a better than even chance one of you is secretly holding a torch for the other. Could be wrong, and again, there are no firm rules, and if you get it and it works, cool. But I remember having to cut off a couple of people when I finally got married, just saying, look, I'm married now. It doesn't feel appropriate. It's a sign of respect for your partner, in my opinion. And I think that's what a lot of the red pill people miss. They want all the respect in the world for themselves, but how much do they really give to other people? Women, but also other men. I don't know. They just seem like very, very bitter men. And they seem like they've let life get the best of them. And I guess at the end of the day, I am just too stubborn, too hard-headed to do that. To feel like I'm going to let life or circumstance, misfortune win. I might mope. There you go, mope. Mope or sulk for a few days or a couple of weeks. I've gone through my benders. I've gone through my breakups. I've been mopey. I've listened to the sad songs. I've got plenty of The Cure on my playlist. But eventually you pull your ass out of that. And there's no set time. It's not like you should snap your fingers 2 weeks later be perfect. No, take your time. Absolutely take your time. When it's ready, it's ready. But also realize that the world's not coming to an end just because someone broke your heart. And the thing is, remember too, I don't know if any two true actual loves will ever be the same, feel the same. I doubt it. The way you feel about someone, that's a unique connection. Be it 10 years or, a couple of hours one evening you met. It's different between each couple of people because you're each different. And when you mingle together, it's different. So, yeah, if you break up with someone or get broken up with, or even if, like I said, it's a temporary thing, the old ship's passing in the night. In my life, as much traveling as I've done at various times, that's a real thing. There are people that I've met overseas or that are here traveling that I thought, in a different life. But it wasn't meant to last. It shouldn't have lasted. Doesn't mean it wasn't worthwhile. And the way I felt about them is very different than the way I feel about my wife. But on the other hand, for me, someone who's very invested in history and stability, those 15 years with her count for so much more than previous relationships. It's deeper, it's more solid, and not to be like sappy or stupid about it, but if something happened to us, to her, whatever, I don't know what I would do because, again, not to get into weirdness, but my dad met her, he knew her, he liked her. That meant something. If I ever were to try to date again, they couldn't meet my dad. It's hard to put into words why that matters to me, but it does. And the same thing can be said for your mother. Not that I ever sought parental approval. In fact, I usually didn't introduce them to people I dated until it was very, very serious. But it's nice to have it, because outside perspectives. Plus, there are parts of my family where divorce is pretty rampant, and it does make me a little happy that I can say I never got divorced. Not so far anyway, and not planning to, but you know what I mean. It's just something that I'm glad I made it into my 40s without that. No shade to anyone who does. I mean, hell, between staying in a bad marriage or getting out, I say get out. I don't like divorce, but it's not a moral thing. It's just, I think if people get into marriage thinking it's la-di-da, we can always get divorced if it doesn't work out, move in together. Don't get married. Just move in together. Marriage, to me, you're making promises, you're having vows, but it also takes two to get married. It only takes one for a divorce. So if you get in and the person you're with is just bad, if they have irreconcilable problems, drugs, or they're horrible with money, or they're abusive, whatever, yeah, get out. It's better to live your life, because you have this life. Don't live it in misery just to say, oh, I'm not going to get divorced. That's not worth it. Nothing is. It's like in my main line of work, and people talk about, oh, I never sell guns. Yeah, but if you're going into debt, if you owe people, sell the guns. What does it matter? Principles are great, but they should not be absolutes. Nothing in life should be absolutes. I guess there is that too. Some of the Manosphere, the red pill, even the player culture people, they seem so obsessed with either sex or dating or both. How boring. For one thing, obviously, it's well known that if you're desperate, the opposite sex, or even the same sex, whoever you're after can smell that a mile off. And that is not appetizing. I've been guilty of it. I've had times in my life where I was too desperate for someone. It didn't work out. It's when you're not, it's when you're yourself and relaxed and honest that it can. Again, on both sides. Maybe a little bit of desirability on the other side is nice, but if they're obsessed with you or seem like they could be, that gets exhausting really quick. Plus, it leads into over jealousy, and that's neither here nor there. And I think that's what these red people will do. They obsess on it so much, and they want to control their partner, and some of them really feel like they're just very, very jealous partners. Ugh, who would want that? Either you trust your partner or you don't. And they just seem so hyper-focused on this one thing. Get a life. Have a job you find interesting, or at least have some hobbies. Or at the very least, have a friend group you go out with that makes you different. Have your thing. Don't make it seem like the person you're dating or married to is your entire life. That's too much of a burden for you and for them. You can be devoted for them. You can be, the primary person in their life and vice versa. Even giving them a significant part. But there needs to be some breathing room, some space. You need to be your own complete person, because no one likes feeling like if they disappeared, you would collapse without them. That level of codependency is not healthy, because we don't like to think about this. Even if you make it marriage, no divorce, no commitment issues, any of us can pass away at any time. Could be an automobile thing, could be an unforeseen health thing. I think most of us would like to know that our partner would live on without us. I mean, most of us wouldn't want them to die with us, because with them living on, that carries part of us on too. I don't know. But such people, the Manosphere types, they just seem so hyper-focused. They honestly seem like they kind of quit emotionally maturing when they were about 16, 17, and they just never got over it. And I'm not saying everything is you as an individual's fault. Again, as I said earlier, they're dicks sometimes. We used to have this saying when we were 16, 17 in high school, all men are assholes and all girls are bitches. And that was something that was mutually said, not with my, in my friend group, but it was said equally by girls and boys. Meaning, yeah, you see what I mean? We're all equally guilty. So what's the way? Get that out of the way and, move on. And I think some people never quite get to that point. And, you're gonna get messed up in the dating world. It can be very combative and pretty rough this day and time. But I have a hard time giving any sympathy to these red pillars, because I grew up with far fewer advantages and opportunities in life than most of them had, and I've still pushed forward. They talk about how hard it is to date on Tinder or any of this other internet stuff. Then don't. Maybe that's the problem. You're trying too hard on those hookup sites. I mean, and yeah, if you're going on those hookup sites, maybe you're just kind of getting what you put out, getting back out what you put in. That makes sense. Just, yeah, if you're just wanting hookups and but I mean, do you expect a woman, or for that matter, a man on there who's doing one-night stands to not have a quote-unquote high body count? Of course not. You're not going to find a virginal nun, that'd be strange, on such a website. And I'm not dissing those websites. I had a good friend that used them. That's fine if that's what you want. It wasn't what I wanted, so I didn't. And again, if you think it's hard for you to go to a club or a bar and pick up someone, imagine someone like me who can't even see the person across from them and whatnot. But again, I'm playing the game on hard mode. The nice thing about playing on hard mode is you get to pat yourself on the back and realize, hey, it's harder to do, but you make it. Playing life with cheat codes on would be kind of lame. And I think that's what some of them maybe secretly want. They just want to just point to someone and go, I want you, and that's it. And that's not how life works. You have to earn someone's friendship, romance, love, affection, sex, whatever. And dating can be hard, but we all have challenges. And I'm not sympathetic to that. I'm not saying don't tell me about it. But I'm just saying, let's keep everything in perspective here. It's not the end of the world if someone leaves you or even cheats on you. And that doesn't mean that all women or all men are that way. It means that one person was. And maybe they were just being an asshole. Maybe you were being an asshole and they finally found a way to get rid of you. Because some people won't take no for an answer in some relationships too. You know the kind of people I'm talking about. Unless you do something super extreme to them, they won't let go. Well, for a lot of people, cheating is an extreme. Well, at least to me anyway. So I have a question for you. What's porn like? Now I took a break there to do a few things and eat a bite, and you want to talk about really annoying things in life, the real travesty. Windows wanting to do updates and blah 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 blah. Does Windows ever stop that? No. The answer is no. But no, I really don't know what porn's like. I bet a lot of the red pillars do, though. I don't think I need to point out the hypocrisy there, but either here nor there. Not saying I wouldn't watch porn if I could. I just haven't been able to my entire life, so yeah. Again, kind of them whinging on about things and not really appreciating what they do have. Yeah. No, I have issue with people that want to put blame on others and not take their share. I'm not saying people should blame themselves for all the problems in the world. That's absolutely not true. Certainly other people around us do things wrong. But it's amazing how many people in general are really, really eager and happy and able to point out the faults and failures and misdoings, misdeeds of others. But when it comes to themselves, well, even if they admit they did something wrong, oh, there's a reason. They did it, but no, they didn't mean it that way, or, you shouldn't hold it against them because they were having this kind of day. Okay, but other people, it's the same for them. You're not special in having a bad day, or you're not special in, having your words twisted. Unfortunately, that happens to all of us. And I think anyone with a disability, it is very tempting, it is very seductive to blame frustration and just the misfortunes on the world, the people around us. In reality, though, it's just the lot in life we were dealt. And it's no one's fault. And taking it out on people around you is not honest. It's not fair. They had nothing in your situation. They didn't contribute towards that. They don't owe you anything. The world doesn't owe you anything. If you can find God, meet Him, talk to Him, yeah, then ask Him why. Because if anyone's to blame, it's Him. Otherwise, it is the way it is. And the same thing goes for the Red Pill people. They want to blame women for the fact that they're living alone in a van down by the river. Really? Maybe they didn't do anything wrong either. Maybe it's just life. Bad things happen. And it's really, really bad when those bad things don't have bad people to blame for them happening. And I get that frustration. I sincerely do. We have all this emotion and we don't know where to place it. And sometimes the internet will point us towards a target. It doesn't have to be red pill and women. It could be, any of the conspiracy groups pointing at politicians or the government or whatever. And it's a direction. And I think a lot of people realize it's misdirected, but it feels good to have that release. It really does. Because we're human. We're flawed. And we all have the same feelings. And we're all kind of fucked up in the same but different ways, if that makes sense. And none of us really know what we're doing. If being honest, we're not born into this world with a guide. We're all just trying to figure it out to some extent. Looking back at my own life, my own relationships, there were times when, someone would straight out lie to me, leading me on. In fact, the first person I ever went all the way with in high school completely led me on throughout the holiday season, and then just, as the kids would say today, ghosted me after New Year. Just poof. Looking back on it, I don't know. I think she was suffering from the fact of us being 16 years old. And she was only my second or third girlfriend at that time. Who knows? Life goes on. But when you're that age, it is easier just to run away. And there were other people that I either took on dates or whatever, and they didn't always do me right. What's funny though, sitting here thinking about it, I know these events happened. I'm having a hard time remembering them. What I do remember are the times I was an ass. I remember right after getting out of that relationship, well, one way or the other, being ghosted. And then right after that, the next month, I slept with someone else. Boys and girls, rebound flings, maybe they help you. They always made me feel 10 times worse. I don't like using people. I'm not against one-night stands, not against that, as long as that's the, prerequisite, as long as that's everyone's on the same page. But the idea that I hurt someone else did not make me feel better. In fact, I kind of abstained, for maybe 6 weeks. But I was, young. What do you do? So, yeah, I remember doing that. I remember one girl I took on a date when I was first going to college, and after I took her out to a pretty nice restaurant, certainly seemed nice with the limited money I had at the time, she told me that, I was like, you want to go out again? She said no. Okay, fine. Then it turns out she was actually dating someone else at the same time as me. Now, keep in mind, we weren't exclusive. And she called me to say, well, I think I'll give you another chance. I still probably would have said no, but me being young and dumb and probably a little alcohol fueled and a little coaxed on by friends, I chewed her ass out about it. God, I feel terrible about that. What fucking right did I have to? She was a young person too. God, I feel bad about that. And things like that go on and on. I did learn relatively quickly. I can't say I made that mistake too many times. But yeah, I for some reason I always remember those times that I screwed up more than people screwed me over, at least in the long run. And to me, it's kind of a cautionary tale. Part of it is, I don't like hurting people. I sincerely don't. Another part of it is, I don't like playing the victim. I don't want to be the victim, so I don't look to pass the buck off onto other people as best I can. No, yeah, but really, I just don't like hurting people. I sincerely just don't. Even if I knew those relationships weren't going anywhere, I look back and think I could have done it nicer, I could have done it better. And I have to wonder, how often do the red pill people really look back at what they've done and judge themselves with the same degree of severity as they judge women that have been in their lives? It's a sincere question. Maybe they do. Maybe they're being equally fair. Maybe they're being hard on themselves too. But it sure doesn't seem like it. You know what I mean? Again, I don't like people that play the victim. Who wants to be the victim? It doesn't make sense to me. Who wants to admit weakness either? Yeah. And even if they do, what does that get you? You're not going to get much in the way if you want pity, especially when you're young and dating and stupid on both sides. So no, I remember the times I messed up very badly. In fact, sometimes I feel it's a wonder that I ever did meet someone who could put up with me. I think that's the thing to remember too, it's a wonder anyone puts up with us, right? Because we're all flawed human beings. Yeah. But on the other hand, I have to admit, of course, wherever we go, we end up getting with someone. It just takes time. Maturity, such as it is. And being very introspective. Because, when you're 16, 17, you're looking for a roll in the hay. You might not even know it yet. But you get into your 20s and 30s and you're looking for more of a long-term thing. And, evaluations change. They really do. Yeah. kind of getting back on target, you know, and this is not something at all exclusive to the red pill community, but it is a lot of these little groups online, flat earther, chemtrails. That was always one of Jay's favorites, was chemtrails. They have a lot of pseudoscience. They claim to have all these scientific facts supporting their arguments, their positions about alpha males and beta males and providing, and what's the new one they added, sigmas or whatever, and how women want this, and, you know, quality and all that crap. It's all bunk. It's all either just made up science, quote unquote science, or it's taken from a very biased study, or it's taken out of complete context from a real study. And of course, the internet's favorite thing to do, it is cherry pick to hell and back. And again, this isn't something that this community does exclusively. Oh, no. So many places will go through 10 studies, and if 8 of them don't give them the results that they want, and 1.5 do, they'll use that one, and they'll manipulate that other half into making it seem like, you know, they'll take something that is inconclusive, then say, look, it supports us, or blah, 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 you know. There is extreme academic dishonesty in this way of doing things. Yeah. the cherry picking and the pseudoscience and the repeating, and this is the thing that drives me crazy. They might have a legitimate study from, say, 1990 that shows this, and they'll talk about it. But what if a study from 2010 came out later saying, okay, the original study was flawed, we've corrected for these flaws, we've made it bigger, and actually now it says something else. They will completely ignore the newer study and stick with the older study that supports their position. And again, this is not just something specific to this. This is, you know, Internet 101 when you want to do this. And of course, at the end of the day, the biggest difference, and this is something that academia is really bad about in general too. You're supposed to have a hypothesis, you're supposed to test your hypothesis and develop your theory, go from there, and you want to disprove your theory. And if it stands up and can't be disproven, hey, then you've got something. But if you already have a conclusion, just looking for research to back it up, that is the backwards ass way of doing things. That is not the way to do it. Anyone who's into science, even remotely, even social sciences, any of that, can tell you straight out that's not what you do. As much as it sucks, you want to try to topple your own research, because at the end of the day, it should be peer reviewed, and if you don't do it, they will. And trust me, it's much more embarrassing to have peers poke holes in your argument than for you to find those holes yourself. Now here's where academia in general is dishonest here, is if you have a hypothesis and your research proves it to be incorrect, okay, that's scientifically the methodology as well. Try getting that published. Magazines, articles, books, journals, they don't want to publish that kind of research, and it's a shame. On the other hand, I do kind of get it. Yeah, so I just wanted to point that out too, just to be fair all around. It's actually one of the things that really bugged me about academia, because you could put 6 months, even over a year of your life into something and go through your methodology as you should, and unfortunately, if it didn't shake out, yeah, that might have been good for a class, that might have got you an A in a classroom setting, but if you're trying to get published in a journal, it's most of the time, 4 out of 5 times, if not more, not gonna happen, because it's not good print, it's not a good article, unless it's in one of those kind of fringe cases, neither here nor there. Either way, the point is, with the red pill, with the Manosphere, a lot of the stuff they claim to know about biology and how women think and what women, it's all bullshit. It's all manipulated to hell and back just to kind of back them up. And I'm sure you knew that. I mean, this is the internet. I think we're all kind of getting savvy to the ways of things now. It might be boring, it might be normie, but that's reality. Reality is by definition normal. So what would I say to someone in their 20s? And again, this is me reaching back a generation now. My dating experiences were not in the era of Tinder, Facebook, any of that stuff, swipings. And on top of that, I'm blind. I can't see pictures. I don't know how I would do with that. I'm actually very, very thankful. Not being ironic, not being snarky. 100% truth. I am so thankful that I haven't been in the dating market for a long time. I don't know how it would work for me in this day and age. Probably not internet based. Face-to-face reality, sure. But I don't know how someone like me at all could engage. Because, again, I'm short. I'm not the best looking. I'm disabled. A Tinder profile for me would be horrendous. No one would really click on me, or what is it, swipe right? Is that the good one? I don't know, whatever. No, me, to get to know me, to know my personality, to hear me speak, to go places with me, that's how I was able to, frankly, get dates and keep dates and have partners once they got to know me. But it wouldn't work out online. So I do sincerely give the sympathy. It's kind of like the job market today. You know, when I was young, you filled out a paper application, you turned it in. Yeah, today it's all electronic. Trying to get an interview with the company is hard enough. Trying to get a date on Tinder, it's kind of, you're even if you're a great person and you might be a great match to the other person, even if the other person is sincerely looking for the same thing you're looking for, just meeting up, just trying to find each other in the sea of everything else and all the noise. Oh, that is so hard. Getting a date, getting a job, same thing. So, true sympathy. And I've been there too before being young. And like I said, I went through a bit of a dry spell after college. Because in college, I met people there, and there were always new classes and new people I'd meet on campus. And hey, I had a dog, so that did work in my favor. But once I got out of college and didn't have that access anymore, it got rough for a year or so there for me. I'm not going to lie. And I did stupid things. I made an ass out of myself on some dating things, and other times I got rejected, and I've gone without, and I do get the temptation to just to blame others, and sometimes it's valid. It really is, but you have to persevere. My entire life has been that. If I had given up, not just with dating but with anything, I'd be sitting in my parents' house in my room, and they would have let me, because in some ways no one expects much out of someone who's disabled. At least no one too much looks down on you if you don't really flee home, if you don't really make a lot, because good God, what were you supposed to do? So I feel you on that. And take time for yourself. Don't focus on dating. Don't focus on women or men, whichever way you're going. That's the other thing. I sincerely don't care. I had way too many good gay friends in high school and college to ever... whatever. I don't care. I like it when people are happy. When two people are happy, in love, or even just having a good fuck together, either way, that makes me happy. I get secondhand happiness. 2 guys, 2 girls, a guy and a girl, that's cool. As long as they're putting out the good vibes, I'm all about that. Again, 2 friends that I literally met in kindergarten came out as gay when we were adults. Not for each other. In fact, they moved in different states. But I look back and how can I judge them? That's kind of getting off topic a bit, but I just wanted to share that. But take time for yourself. Work on your job. Work on your hobbies. Work on your friend group. Because it'll build your confidence. It'll make you more relaxed. And that's when you meet people. And hey, you're in your 20s. It's okay to fuck up. It's okay to be immature. Because that's what you're for. I mean, that's what the teenage years and, 20s, at least, early to mid-20s for sure, are kind of for. Learning the world. Learning yourself. But if you're still doing that in your 40s or 50s, then what's wrong with you? Now, if you decided to be a confirmed bachelor, I can think of at least 3 members of my family that have gone down that path. One of them because he's a widower. And I get it. I don't know if I would move on after my wife in that way. I wouldn't end things, I've got a life. But, getting remarried, that's hard to do. The 2 others in my family, they just really seem into it. They've dated, but they're just not really, they're happy with their own. I think that's something that does run in my family. I'm that way too. We're really happy with our own counsel. So anyway, that's cool. But if you're not dating because women are evil and all this crap, really, grow up. Or if you're in the hookup player culture where you're trying to treat people like they're meat and trying to get back at them for the way you were treated earlier, again, why are you doing that? Those individual people didn't hurt you. You can't say, I hurt a woman, therefore I got back at my ex who did me wrong 10 years ago. No, hurting a woman who did nothing to you is not the same as getting back at your ex. And honestly, revenge is overrated anyway. A lot of that stuff, a lot of the hate, it ends up being more toxic to you and hurting you more than it ever will hurt the other person. That's just my advice, but I'm right about that. So, again, for the people that just decided dating's not for them, hey, that is awesome. A friend from my hometown, he's still with us. He's in his 80s, never got married. He dated some, but for one reason or another, he didn't find someone. He's not bitter about it. It's just not the way his life took him. Okay. But people that get these just hate-filled rants online, judging this and, trying to act like men and women can be boiled down to numbers. God, that's too communist for me. You know what I mean? That was the problem I always had with a lot of the stuff, was they want to boil people down to numbers and, if we do A, B, and C, they'll react with D, E, and F. That's not humans, male or female. I hate that. I hate trying to boil living, breathing humans down to just numbers and things. I'm not against psychology, but boy howdy does some psychologists, and to my mind, really go down that rabbit hole too darn far. Anywho, this was a topic I thought would be interesting to talk about. That is one, interesting thing about the internet. It allows us to see into a group, a culture that we might not otherwise. And some I really find interesting. The UFO, the alien community, I find interesting. The flat earth people I find interesting in a different way. I'm going to be honest, others like the whole Pizzagate thing and QAnon, I really have no interest in whatsoever. Mostly because that gets into the areas where they talk about hurting people and harming people, and I'm not about that. I'm really not. And, with the red pill community, really most of the time they're just hurting themselves. For the older ones, they're just kind of those old boomer grumpy people. The old group, some of them. But the younger ones, hopefully it's just a phase. hopefully I get it. I've been hurt too. And I've been definitely frustrated and disappointed with life. Sometimes when you're young, though, you just need to hang on a little longer. Take it a day at a time, a week at a time. Be your best self. And, the thing is, girls, women, they want the same thing at the end of the day. They want connection. They want love. They want trust. Eventually, I hate to say everyone will find someone. That's not true. But, most people who want to find a companion sooner or later do. Not everyone. And it's not often an easy road. But eventually they do. And I'll just end by saying, how often in life is something really worthwhile, something of true value, easy, fast, and free? It's just not how life works. If something really is worth it, it's going to require commitment of time, energy, even money. That's how life works. If you really want a good job, you have to put a lot into getting it and keeping it. If you want a good gun collection, if you want a good music collection, whatever. And if you want a partner, a companion, a friend who's worthwhile, that's going to require something of you, just as it requires something of them. And I have to wonder at the end of the day, the people that don't seem to make it work, are they really willing to give as much as they take? Because some people you look at, especially the way some people treat their partners, and it's all take. And that seems to be what they perceive other humans on this earth for. On the other hand, it shouldn't all just be give, because that means your partner's the take person. No, it needs to be both. And as equal as can be reasonably accommodated. To be honest, in any relationship, it's rarely 50-50. That's just, life doesn't work out perfectly mathematical like that. But in the end, I will say too that if you put that time, energy into it, and you do find the right person, in my opinion, it's worth it. No one wants to go through life alone. At least I don't think so. Very few people. And something I've been dealing with in my own personal life for the last few years is, the friends and family we grew up with, we wish they could be with us forever, but eventually they won't be. Not only have I lost my father in the last couple of years, I've lost a couple other family members and several good friends. Older friends, of course, for the most part, but good friends that were always pillars in my life. Always there. Now they're not. So if we don't start making new connections with friends our age or even younger, and finding partners and making our own families, eventually we'll find ourselves alone. And I don't want that for any human being. We're social creatures. We desire connection. Now, the level of connection is kind of individual. Whatever makes you happy. One of my family members lives and works out in the woods, and he sees people, but he's also doing his own thing a lot. Actually, two members of my family are like that, now that I come to think of it. I just don't like seeing people give in to the dark side. Hate, anger. Don't do that. Life's too short, guys. Life's too short. Try to live it the best you can. Try to be happy. Try to have peace. And more importantly, try to share that with other people. Try to make the world that you entered into just a little bit better after you go through it. And that's kind of the metric I use to judge a lot of things a lot of beliefs people have, a lot of things people do. At the end of the day, did it make the world a better place when that person has passed? If it did, then good. But if it didn't, what was it all about? What was it for? You know, your mileage may vary, but for me, myself, and I don't want to just be happy myself. I want others to be happy. And not just the people immediately around me. Strangers. It doesn't matter. Wherever. And so that's why when certain groups online kind of perpetuate things that don't push that around, I think it's worth calling out and pointing out. And I don't think it's worthwhile. But I also don't think it's too late for anyone ever. People do silly things, go down the wrong paths. Doesn't mean it's too late. Far from it. So, you know, not judging the individuals themselves, just some of these notions people get up to online are misguided, in my opinion. And that's kind of what black boxes are all about. But, yeah. Just thought I'd mention that as it's a hot summer night. In fact, I can hear some heat thunder in the background. Guess I'll turn in for the night. But do let me know about that porn I asked you about earlier. What's porn like? Comment your comments below about porn. That'll make things fun. This is Misha. Catch you very soon. Next time.